The Dragonbone Chair by Ted Williams is. How dare you? You think you can interrupt me? Is an epic swords and sorcery fantasy, heroic fantasy novel from 1988, which is extremely detailed. One of the few that you could actually compare to the same vibes as the works of Tolkien. In some ways, I like even better. The main highlight of the book is, surprisingly, the prose, because it's so good that it allows you to visualize the world of Alston Ard, or however you say that, in a way that is often sometimes better than the beautiful, indescribable vistas of probably North America and Canada from which it was probably obviously inspired. And so that just lends so much more of an emotional, powerful backdrop to the otherwise rather simplistic, trope-laden story that we're given here, which is another standard fantasy good versus evil story, probably older than all of human civilization because of past lives and unfinished business. But we're all in a war against demons, after all, don't you know? So basically, what's really fun is that a lot of this world building details are present, but in a way like poetry, sort of like descriptive words with an overarching message in some like poetic narrative. It doesn't detract from the story by slowing down the pace. It somehow adds to it and gives a sort of spiritual sense that all of these world building details are connected. The second biggest highlight of that being part of the world building details is all of the unique cultures and history and lore of Alston Ard, involving a lot of the indigenous civilizations that often literally lurk in the mysterious underdepths of this multi-layered world, which is filled with beauteous magic as well as intriguing mysteries that are, it does move you through the story at a decent enough rate of intrigue, so to say. But at the same time, you've been warned, this is really only going to appeal to epic fantasy readers who are there more for the ride rather than the destination, in the sense that they want a sort of traditional epic slow burn medieval fantasy, which is exactly what this is. In many ways, it's very immersive and surprisingly so, arguably in some ways even better than Titan popular universes in fantasy literature like Westeros or Middle Earth, in my opinion, because it's just so well written and it's so easy to get into for pure, true escapist fantasy. On top of that, the main characters are all surprisingly heroic and just good role models in spirit, even if a lot of their areas of competence, them being young in this first novel, make them into buffoons. And so, I don't know, but I have so much to thank for this book, this just brilliant, mentally illuminating experience, and it just kind of like literally, I don't want to sound sappy, but it literally warms the heart a bit. Well, not literally, but you know what I mean. Like that, although there are small complaints and detractors in the story, most having to do with the slowness of pace, they're not even worth mentioning. And I'm torn because part of that slowness is what makes it immersive and gives it that realism that ultimately, adds to a more satisfying long-term emotional build-up, and then sort of a crescendo when we reach those character arc moments that have some coming-of-age elements, which are also vividly nostalgic for most of us sad, lonely adults who read books. Gross. So, basically, what else was there? Well, there was something else, but I can't remember. So yes, the world of Alston Ard is great if you have the patience, if you want a slow burn traditional medieval epic fantasy, which is definitely based on a lot of aspects of history, things inspired by the clashing of cultures, also its look at human evil in terms of being the foundation of civilization, such as like competing monarchies and having serfs, and just this all the unfortunate negative nastiness of monarchies and such. is really looking at in almost non-political way, but just something that's being true to more of the vibe of history. It's not to say that it has nothing to say. It's just it's in its look at evil. It's just presenting the same feel and how different ordinary people are victimized in this way that feels almost spiritual. It feels like how millions of people throughout human history probably did in shitty government type situations and such. And you can, if you've read A Song of Ice and Fire, another one of my all-time favorite fantasy series, which I still haven't technically finished, it's kind of incredible how similar this feels, and this predates that. And I believe George Martin also said that this series, which I think is much underrated compared to most others, said it was a source of inspiration. So it's definitely more inspiring than most other realistic fantasy series that have that but while maintaining a sort of gritty, realistic look at evil and corruption in a way that, will be satisfying to adults as well as smarter kids. So basically, yeah, I highly recommend this book. It's beautiful. It still has an edge to it, a grittiness to it. It has really memorable, sympathetic, heroic characters that really grow on you over time. And it's in some instances, it's really sweet and charming. In other instances, the magic, which has a sort of vibe and feel of being deeply connected to the chaos that's in nature, especially like the character of the Storm King and the backstory of reading that, and so on and so forth. And also the mysteries that it presents genuinely motivate me to want to read probably all the books in this universe of Austin Ard, by Tad Williams, because I've heard they kind of just get better and better, and definitely want to check out other books by Tad Williams. But this is my first, finishing my first novel by Tad Williams. So yes, I give this 10 out of 10. But please know I have some underlying biases. I already liked this sort of thing, and I tend to project and take my time and invest in intentionally wasting time to read slowly in the first place books like this, and adding to what I see in my mind when I read a story that's more about the ride than some big deep political message on some soapbox or something, or showing off some cool concept of the future. Like, this is more so an examination of possibilities involving real magic as it relates to human drama, and a few basic, easy to understand clashes between opposing nations and cultures and customs and traditions from different peoples competing for land, which is really true to world history. But that's not the main point of the story. That's more of a backdrop that feeds the larger point of the story, which is just is really not important in comparison to just being there, having the vision, being in Austin Art and seeing things happen, and enjoying other cool things like a little bit of romance. It's pretty effective. It's pretty enjoyable. A little bit of pulpy like action, and a little bit of horror too. It's actually pretty fun. I forgot what those white demon things are called, but they were like diggers and stuff like that. But stuff that's actually genuinely creepy, that in many ways embodies nature. So yes, the evil and the opposition story dealing with the chaos of nature, that was also really awesome. So yeah, just nothing but good things to say about the Dragonbone share for me personally. It may not be for everyone, but I already had an underlying bias. I love stuff like this anyway, so I may have added more worth than the story actually deserves in my mind, and I wouldn't know any better, but I don't care. So I'm almost finished with the sequel, The Stone of Farewell. I'm very close to being done with that, so you can expect another book review when I'm finished with that. But yeah, 10 out of 10, highly recommend for fantasy fans. It's a classic for a reason, underrated I think, even still.